Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And if you haven't read Al Gore's piece over at Rolling Stone, get over there. RollingStone.com, of course, their website, and you can buy the magazine in the newsstand. What I find really fascinating is that there are all these headlines that have been coming out and, basically trashing. In fact, Tom C.A. Dem posts about this over at Democratic Underground today. A very, very cogent post that the headlines are things like Al Gore slams Obama. Al Gore blasts Obama. Obama failed to stand up, says Gore. Gore, on global warming, Obama has changed little. That's not what Al Gore was saying. I mean, it's incredible. He has the actual title of Al Gore's Rolling Stone piece was "Climate of Denial: Can Science and Truth Withstand the Merchants of Poison?" It's about the media. Al Gore was calling out the media, and yet the media is making it all look like Al Gore was calling out the president. And the point that he makes, and it's a brilliant article that Al Gore wrote, and like I said, it should be essential reading because it's one of those Wizard of Oz moments, where the dog pulls back the curtain and suddenly you see that it's not the great and mighty wizard, it's the little guy who's manipulating things. Gore starts out by telling the story brilliantly and succinctly of when he was a little kid and he used to watch wrestling on TV. And I know exactly what he's talking about because when I was a little kid, I used to watch wrestling on TV. Right on Saturday afternoon, there'd be the and there was always a narrative, right? There was a good guy and there was a bad guy. And the bad guy was a really snarly bad guy, and he'd snarl at the cameras, and he treated everybody poorly, and he just rawr. And the good guy was, handsome and friendly, and he shook hands with people, and he smiled a lot. And then there was the referee. And the referee is what Al Gore's piece was all about. Because what would happen is, the good guy and bad guy are in the ring and they're wrestling and they're beating the bejesus out of each other and, blood flying and sweat and all kinds of stuff. And you think, at least I thought, and Al Gore thought when he was a little kid, this has got to be real. I mean, look at these guys are just beating the snot out of each other, literally. And then the referee, somebody on the, like the manager of the bad guy, would start banging against the side of the ring with a chair, would start screaming, and the referee would come over and have a conversation with the manager of the bad guy. And while he's doing that, the bad guy would grab the good guy in an illegal lock and just start punching his face out. And everybody in the crowd's yelling at the ref, "Hey, look at that, stop that." And the referee's just kind of not paying attention. He's here having a conversation. And then when the bad guy's all done beating up the good guy illegally, the referee turns around and looks like it's a normal match. And so the good guy tries to take an illegal shot at the bad guy, or even just comes at him, and the referee steps in and goes, whoa, you can't do that. And it just gets repeated round after round after round, that the bad guy just gets away with all kinds of stuff because the referee just by coincidence always happens to be looking the other way or talking to somebody or being distracted. And the good guy never gets away with anything. In fact, anytime the good guy does anything wrong, he gets called out on it. And Al Gore says, this is the exact same thing that's happening with the climate change so-called debate. All the scientists in the world are the good guys. The referee is the news media. The bad guys are the polluting industries who are sponsoring a couple of phony scientists and a whole bunch of talking heads. And when the scientists, the 98% of all the scientists in the world or climate scientists say, yes, absolutely, global warming, climate change, whatever you want to call it, it's a problem. It's caused by people. It's going to be a disaster. It's already a disaster. Then the referee happens to be looking the other way. I don't know what's going on here. And, is just kind of not paying attention to it. But when the bad guys are out there speaking It's kind of flipping the metaphor upside down, I suppose, a little bit. But when the bad guys are out there saying, there's still doubt here, then the media is all over it. Let's have a debate. It's 50-50 after all. The old false equivalence thing. And Al Gore points out, not just what's actually happening in this article, but also points back to that this is no different than the strategy that was employed by the tobacco companies back in the 50s and 60s. When they hired Ronald Reagan, he doesn't mention Ronald Reagan in the article, but I will, to put on a doctor's uniform and say, if you got a sore throat, smoke Pall-Malls. More doctors smoke Pall-Malls when they have a cold or sore throat than any other brand. Or words to that effect. And brands to that effect. That's my recollection of the brand. And in fact, it's really hard to find those old ads. They've been really well scrubbed. But I remember watching them on TV. I'm a little kid. There's Ronald Reagan in a lab coat. So they're doing the same thing. And what the tobacco companies did was, when the first Surgeon General reports came out and said, we have found that tobacco, when used as directed, causes death, causes lung cancer. What was the strategy of the tobacco industry? To make it seem like there was a debate. They didn't try to deny it altogether. They didn't try to say, that's nonsense. They said, well, maybe, but maybe not. Some people doubt that. Some people think couldn't be the case. And in fact, some of the people involved in the anti-global warming or the global warming denier crusade are the same people who were involved in the tobacco doesn't cause cancer crusade back in the day. And if not the same people, in some cases, the same institutions. And the media is falling for it again. The media being the referees. So I just wanted to salute Al Gore for one of the best analyses I've seen in a long, long time.